So here we are again at the fuel filter housing. It may look familiar to some people, it certainly does to me. And here I am just tying on a bit of string to identify which fuel line goes where, and I'm tying one to the front left and the front right, so when it comes back to putting them back on, I know exactly where they're going. They are color coded, but these color codings do drop off quite easy. You can, I suppose, trace the fuel lines, but I find a bit of string and you're good to go. Now these things can be a bit tricky to remove. I needed to lubricate mine up quite a bit. I definitely soaked them overnight. These are ones I've had off previously, as you can see, the shiny new brass bits, so these should come off quite easily. These two, they are just pushed together either side and they will drag off. Do not force them, they come off quite easy in the end. They might need a bit of jiggling about. Now these definitely did. I lubricated these up overnight. You can see how badly corroded things are. Definitely never been off before. And it's a case of pulling the fuel lines out the way. So 10mm socket, and this is only held on by 2 bolts. Just making sure that they'll both come off first of all, and I've got them both turning. Everything down here gets pretty corroded, so it's a bit of a lottery. Now mine's had a new chassis put on, so all this stuff's been off before, I would assume. Here I am now dropping the fuel filter off. Now I know I can get these bolts off. This will have fuel in, my nice shiny new fuel filter, and off it comes after 1 day, because I could smell fuel or diesel after I'd been for a drive, and on inspection I could see it leaking generally in that area. So now we've got good access, no fuel to tip out, and even just unloosening one bolt, you can see the whole assembly comes off, and you'll see the huge chunk missing on the right hand side. But fortunately the guys who did the chassis swap kindly put a bolt in there to fill in the void, and that's a nice bodge, as bodges go. So the whole of the bracket missing there, totally corroded, and it's difficult to actually see this when it's on the vehicle. You can see how badly it is messed up, and you can see also why it was leaking. So here I am recovering all the brass fittings. These do come off quite easy, even the ones that had been on quite a while, and it's a case of being careful with them all. And you're going to need a new copper washer for all of these. You cannot use the old copper washers. Now these are the ones that have never been off, and again they come out pretty easy once you crack them. Use your fingers and off they come. And this has some kind of weird reed valve on. And the final one. So that's all the pieces recovered that I need to, and if you look at the state of that, that is what the copper washer was trying to seal against. And here's the replacement one, an aftermarket product, and you can see the difference of where the seal, and it's a case of cleaning all these brass fittings up before you put them in. New copper washer, and in goes the return line first of all, and you need to do the two which are closest to the body. Again, the two inner ones, as you can see here. Once again, new copper washer, finger tight first of all, and it's time to put it on with the two cleaned up bolts. They should easily all go back together No more needs to be said about that really. Next up, spanner time. Just tighten these up using a bit of common sense is all I can say. They don't need to be super tight. Again, extension bar and a ratchet. Now I'm tightening the two inner brass inlet and outlets. Again, not over tightening them. And this time I know I've got a good face to mate onto with the copper sealing washers. Now for the outside ones, air bleed valve, once again with a new copper washer which I had to replace even though it was new to start with. It was that badly bent from trying to tighten on to the old filter housing. Again, just nip these up. And back on with the correct coded, and the string for me is on the near side and they just snap fit on. Again, the final one, the outer one, make sure it's seated nicely. Again, just nip it up, do not over tighten these. So next up, we're putting the fuel lines back on. Again, the one with the string on will come on the outside, and they just push fit on. Once you clean them up, make sure you do not get dirt into any of this, keep everything clean. And here we go, removing the two bits of identifying string. Fuel filter, some people put fuel in here, it saves on purging the system as much, but no fuel in there, it was stored overnight. Again, hand tight, don't overdo it, it's already been on one time unfortunately. Usually I wouldn't like to put this on twice, but it's brand new. Now this is the sensor which I talked about previously that was missing on mine. You don't really need to run with it, some people do, some don't. I broke mine once quite a while ago tightening it. Everything's plastic and they're quite expensive what they are, so it's a case of screwing that on, and it's supposed to sense water in the fuel, and I've never once had any water in the fuel. Seems a bit of a waste of time for mine. Again, just push fit connector, get that tucked out the way, and back on with the shroud. And this time I'm going to zip tie these. The connectors on mine weren't very good. I was a little bit nervous of this tray bouncing off, so I've gone with an oversized zip tie. The downside is if I have to take it off, which I shouldn't because I haven't done so for quite some time, the only time you need to take it off is changing the filter. There we go. Purging the fuel. Again, it's a case of ignition on, crank the throttle pedal more than 5 times and your purge will start. Engine management light will come on, and just let it run through its cycle. It'll take 5 minutes or so, depends on how much air you've got in, how good your pump is. And let's see if it will work. It looks good to me. Job done. Let's hope that purges the air and stops the horrendous smell of diesel.